how much of this can actually be implemented when it comes to ensuring there is enough shelter homes to accommodate the stray dogs across the nation?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head when you've asked that question, because every time, ever since that 11th of August order, which has now been, modified by this three-judge bench, one has to take a look at the implementation and the execution, which is what the critics of that order, people who were trying to say that the Supreme Court made a little bit of an overreach with their previous diktat. The first point that they made and said was that, yes, there is animal cruelty. You need to understand that it is a catastrophe and it is a problem, but to pick them up and wound them up and throw them in a dog pound, all of them collectively together, is not only a biohazard, but is something that is not doable by the local authorities. And then comes the graft and the corruption, and who's actually going to take a look at it. But acrimony that we saw on the streets in front of India Gate, at Jantar Mantar, that fiasco with the women SHOs inside the bus, all of that also happened because the animal lovers took it upon themselves. They went to the streets to raise their voice. I think that way it's a big relief and reprieve for them. The order has now been modified. They're not going to be kept in those dog pounds after sterilization and vaccination. They are going to be released, and in the same locality, which the dog lovers say and experts say is a prime point. You can't pick a dog up from one locality, operate on it, and then in that anxious and traumatic position, throw that dog in a different locality. That dog is tend to bite somebody. It is going to go feral. And for all the dogs that are rabid and feral, the Supreme Court says that we are going to make sure that they are not released out. MCD is going to make sure that there are proper feeding areas. But it's too soon to say what the people of Delhi and how the other states are now going to look at this, because the dog lovers wanted some sort of relief coming from the court, which they have gotten, Samya. But the implementation is the next big step. Where do we go from here? Budgeting is a big problem. The ABC rules of 2023, how they do not specifically demarcate who is going to get what kind of money. These are big and important questions, because on paper, maybe 100 dogs get vaccinated and sterilized, but on ground, maybe not even 15. And that's where the graft and corruption takes over. So with a stern eye, and it's important that the Supreme Court says that we've sent out this message to a larger audience. We've broadened the ambit with the husbandries and, various other animal-related NGOs coming under its wing. And for all the other similar related petitions across various high courts, the Supreme Court says, how about you transfer it to this very court? So, of course, the dog lovers and the people on ground who are actually worried about this quote-unquote menace, should we even be using that adjective anymore after the Supreme Court? That's one question. And the other one is, of course, implementation. We need robust guidelines. We need to have proper SOPs in place so that people know who to go to. A lot of times there's a problem, but you don't know what to complain. So again, the Supreme Court says there's going to be a proper MCD helpline as well. So the August 11 order modified too much, I would say, pretty much looks like a fresh new order, but a relief and reprieve for the dog lovers. But where do we go on from here, Samya? That's a big question, and I think collectively the society needs to answer that. It's not going to be enough to just throw the garbage outside your home and stop worrying about it. RWAs and people who don't have dogs at home, aren't pet lovers, and are, of course, worried about this dog menace, say that, pick them up, wound them up, and go. But this can later turn into a big bomb and come and bite them in the back. So collectively, the social fabric has to now think about this. We need to collectively ponder, and yes, a relief and reprieve for the dog lovers.
Relief for the dog lovers for sure, Kabir, but while there is an implementation time frame still decided by the court that it has to be done in 8 weeks' time, in the meanwhile, every single day we do receive several reports from different parts and corners of the country where there has been incidents of children being mauled to death or elderly being attacked by their dogs. Until this entire thing is implemented, do you feel there is a need for the government and especially the MCD to be swift and more prompt to ensure that these incidents do not take place? There has to be some sense of vigilance and monitoring that needs to be ensured.
As of yesterday, Samya, all of this needs to happen as of yesterday, because a lot of people who have vociferously come out and spoken in favor of the stray dogs and against the order which came out on the 11th of August, they say that, the heart of the center is always in the right place. Even the suo motu cognizance that the two-judge bench took up, it is in the favor of, the larger multitude out there. It is animal cruelty. Take a look at that. Millions of dog bites, millions of rabies deaths. We don't have a cure for rabies as well. And then the judges point out to 24,000 dog bites in the national capital alone in 2024. So this is cruelty. This is animal cruelty. And one has to take a look at it. It's a catastrophe. But then again, rounding all of them up, picking them up and throwing them in a dog pound, which firstly, we don't have the space or the ability to do so. And even if we did so, it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right on them.
Well, Kabir, there are several areas of concern that needs to be addressed. And like our guests this morning were telling us, Mr. Ravindra, that there is needs to have a specific committee that should be constituted with all the stakeholders to ensure that all areas and aspects are factored in. Well, perhaps it's time for a committee to be put together by the government to ensure that the implementation of this verdict by the Supreme Court is going to happen, with ensuring that its effect is felt far and wide across the country.